in Nigeria, with their objective to advocate and campaign for a full implementation of the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan and other global policies and treaties. Join me later Wednesday and our seasoned resource persons on the role of artisanal and small-scale miners in energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria. Fridays, 9 to 10 a.m. only on JE 101.9 FM. Powered by Ziva Community Initiative Advocate for a Sustainable Community with support from Africa Center for Energy Policy.
Good morning and welcome to the show. My name is Messi Danachukwemeka and welcome to Voices from the Mines. If you're wondering what the show is about, this is a show that gives voices to small-scale and artisanal miners in Plateau State. If you have no idea what we're talking about, do not worry. Today on the show, we'll bring you up to speed as to what we're talking about, the impacts of small-scale and artisanal mining in climate change, how Nigeria, as a country, small-scale miners get what they need, and the economy is beneficial for it. I am not alone today. This show, if you don't know, is Voices from the Mines and is brought to you by Ziva Community Initiative, where we talk about things that happens in community, especially when it comes to minerals and mining. I've got two guests with me on the studio this morning. First off, I've got a very honorable person. Before I introduce the person, let me introduce to you somebody from Ziva Community. I've got with me Mrs. I hope, is it Mrs. or Miss?
Mrs.
Alright, okay. I've got with me this morning Mrs. John Mary Nenlemwa. Did I get it correctly?
Nenlemwa.
Nenlemwa.
Yes.
Oh, good morning, ma. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
It's good to have you today. So first off, before we go into the history, before we talk about mining, what exactly does Ziva Initiative, Community Initiative do? What are you guys about?
Okay, Ziva Community Initiative is a non-governmental organization working within the mining space in Plateau State. We've been working since 2019 till date. And our intervention is to deepen our intervention in Plateau State. Our focus is the artisanal and small-scale miners. And why do we choose the artisanal and small-scale miners? Is because we feel as artisanal and small-scale miners, they also have a contribution to their communities. As they mine, we want to see them do mining better. We want to see them grow. We want to see them develop their skills. We want to see them bring impact to their communities.
All right.
Yeah.
You talked about what made you come here, but was there a moment? Was there something that happened that made you say, you know what, I want to come here? Because mining has been in Jos, Plateau State, since the 1800s. It's been here forever. What was the trigger, for want of a better word, that made Ziva Initiative say, you know what, we're going to come here, we're going to create this community and this initiative to ensure that artisanal and small-scale miners are not left by themselves to do the things they're doing?
Yes, what brought us to Plateau State is the fact that, as you said, history has it that mining has been in Plateau for a long time now.
Yes.
For years, since the 1940s. And then we brought this intervention because we want to see them mine better. We want to see development. You meet miners and you ask them, for how long have you been mining? Some of them have been mining for years and then they don't have much to show for it. So we want to build their capacity such that they are not just mining, but they will see what they are mining for. Their capacity will be built. Their financial literacy will be built. They will have more better ways of savings and not just mining, because most times they mine and they spend the money without having money.
You spoke about finances, and I think I just want to draw your attention to that. For somebody who has, for an organization that has been in just for about 5 years, going to 6 now, I'm sure you have seen and had conversations with these miners. What are some of the biggest issues you have noticed from your conversations with them that has stopped them, from want of a better word, reaching their fullest potentials as artisanal and small-scale miners?
Okay, some of the issues we notice is the fact that they are not so much registered. They are unformalized, like we call.
Yes.
They are not. They work as individuals most times. And when you work as an individual, it's difficult to make an impact.
Sure.
Yeah, and then we also. One of the things that motivates us is the fact that from our engagement with the communities, there are a lot of people we've asked questions. For how long have you been mining? Somebody will tell us you have been mining for for 30, some 20, some 15 years. Okay, what do you have to show for it? Nothing. They just get this money, they spend it because they have the notion that they will go back and still mine and get it again. So that is why we want them to have a different perspective of doing things.
All right. Before we move on to our other guest, just a few last questions for you, Mrs. Mary. With regards to mining, one of the things, like you mentioned, is community. But if these people mine these things, where do they sell it? Do you think that they are negotiating power in the sale of the things they mine? Do you think it's strong enough? Do you think they get enough financial reward for the things they mine when they sell it to other people?
No, I don't think so. They don't. And the fact of that is because when you hear the price of what they sell and at the open market, then there are two different things. The difference is so much. Yes, and that is, like I said, that is one of the things we are doing, so that they will be able to know that they will have the bargaining power to bargain better, to sell their products at the right place they are supposed to, and to know the prices of these things. Yeah.
You talked about pricing. Also, you can picking back a little. One of the biggest problem when it comes to, especially like you mentioned, small scale and, for want of a better word, informal businesses like this, is that they are usually middlemen that seem to always take all of the profits and do less of the work. Does mining have a problem of middleman?
I think so. I would say they do, because they have tin sheets that they sell to. Sometimes they don't take it to the tin sheet. Sometimes they sell it at the mining sites. Yeah. So you have people coming in to buy it at the mining site.
And most likely those people are not the ones using it directly.
Yes. Sometimes they are not the one using it directly. They sell it too. So that's why we want to break that barrier in between, so that you'll be able to sell your product and get profit for what you are working for.
All right. Finally, on this one, what has been the biggest pushback from these miners? Because I know that when people have done a thing for a very long time, and there's something new that wants to disrupt what they already know, there's usually pushback. There is we don't want this. What if you are, you want to rob us of all our money? What has been some of the pushback you've gotten from the community of miners, and what has been your solution to some of these issues?
Okay, our solutions to that is, okay, for one, we train them. We train artisanal and small-scale miners in Plateau State.
Train them in what?
We build their capacity. The trainings cover how to mine better, how to mine in a safer way, how to save financial literacy, and we also do registration of cooperatives for them. Okay. It's only when they are registered as a cooperative that they'll be able to get license for their mining, that they'll be able to have as an organization, you'll be able to mining. But when you are not registered, one person cannot do the work.
Sure.
So that's why we want to formalize them. Recently, we did registration for artisanal miners just last week, and we gave them the cooperatives from Barkeladi local government area and Mango, and we gave them their certificate. So with these certificates now, they'll be able to register with the federal government and get their license.
Okay, speaking of license, I know I said the last question, but it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So I remember some months ago, somebody called me, a random number called me, and they said, oh, we want to start, I think they said they wanted to mine in Jos, and they needed a licensed company to partner with.
Okay.
My question is, how difficult is it for these small scale and artisanal miners to get licensing from the federal government?
Okay, it's not so difficult if you follow the right channel, if I will say. It's not so difficult because once you are registered, you'll be able, once you are registered as a cooperative, you'll be able to get your license. And if you follow the right channel, you go to the federal government, federal mines office with your cooperative certificate. There are procedures you follow, and once you do that, you get registered. Yeah, so that is part of what we are doing. And on this particular project, we are working on the role of artisanal and small-scale miners in energy transition and climate change.
That I was going to come to, but we also have somebody with us in the studio. Like I mentioned before, we have two guests, but this one is like they say on the street, a big fish, even though I don't think that people should be called that. I've got with me this morning on the show the Honorable Commissioner of Environment, Climate Change and Mineral Development, Honorable Peter Kanangwong. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Please speak to the microphone. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Just close out the mic so we can hear you.
Yep. Is that better?
Yes, better.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we'll be talking about mining before you came in, and she has, given us a heads up on what the community, what Ziva community initiative is about, and the things they're doing. As a commissioner of, a commissioner in the state, you obviously have had first-hand interaction with these miners. My first question, sir, is what would you say has been some of the issues you've been dealing with when it comes to small-scale and artisanal mining in Jos?
Okay. I guess the main issue, again, in the entire mining sector, which doesn't seclude or exclude, the small-scale artisanal miners, is the disorganized nature of the sector in the states. Since the indigenous decree of 1970s, where we saw a drastic decline in mechanized mining, what we have on the Plateau and other parts of Nigeria has been unregulated and disorganized, and of course it's unsafe for small-scale miners, and the most frustrating part of it is that they're at the bottom of the value chain, which is what we are not, which is what we're trying to achieve by bringing more education, giving them more skills, and organize the sector in such a way that our indigenous people, who are mainly the people that go down into these mining wells, get more for the work that they do.
All right. You've talked about the history, which is a very important part of this conversation, because, like you also mentioned, it has always been here. However, things happened, and mining, the way it used to be, especially under the British and the Nigerian government, stopped. But the governor, sometime this year, put a stop to mining, especially for artisanal and small-scale mining. He made mention of a number of things, how mining has led to school dropout. I've heard of stories of people that say, I don't want to go to school, I just go do mining and I'll be fine. What things or what moves are the states, or can the states make to ensure that, like you mentioned, that these small-scale miners get their money's worth, and also that the issues they currently deal with are sorted as soon as possible?
Okay, let me first state that the suspension wasn't targeted at small-scale miners.
Okay.
As you mentioned, I don't want to do that's not.
So what is the suspension was?
The suspension was for the entire industry.
Okay.
Suspend all mining activities until we put some measures in place to regulate the industry. So it wasn't it's not targeted at the small scale miners. But unfortunately, they are affected, and we crave for their patience because we know that a lot of them earn a living from the mining sites. And you mentioned, the question is what measures are put in place. Okay, so there's a lot we're doing. We have the main technical committee, and we have subcommittees under the main committee. Number one, the first committee, which is a bit more top level, is dealing with documentation. So we have a lot of mining companies on the Plateau today. So we have different kind of licenses when it comes to mining, which people need to be aware of.
What are these licenses?
Yes, so we have the mining license, right? But let me start. We first have the exploration license, and that is that gives people the license to explore.
What does explore mean?
So explore for minerals. So you have an inkling that maybe there's a mineral in a particular place. So you get a license, and you use that to explore. Once you find a mineral, then you have to graduate. When it's in commercial quantities, then you have to graduate to a mining license.
Please hold on, before you go any further.
Yes.
These licenses, are they given by the states or the federal government? Federal government.
Yes.
But does the state have like a subsidiary, for a better word, that can do it without having to go to a
No.
So
So the federal government has the offices here on the Plateau. You have the mining cadastral office, who issues out the licenses, and you have the zonal offices, which regulates mining activities, and they're both federal institutions that are here on the Plateau. In fact, the zonal offices and the zonal bosses are here on the Plateau.
Okay. So exploration, after you've been given
after you explore,
green light for that,
and then you find commercial quantities, then you move ahead, you graduate into a mining license. Now let me state that mining is capital intensive, and so a lot of people shy away once they get the exploration license, which isn't so expensive. They shy away from going ahead to convert it to a mining license. Now, when you have a mining license, there's a lot of things that come with it, such as your community development agreements and so on and so forth.
Yes.
You have to do your environmental impact assessment, and these are capital intensive. So what happens is when people have the exploration license and they find minerals, they just go ahead and mine
Without getting
the
go
money.
ahead
Yes.
to mine.
Yes, without going, because a lot of times, because people feel that mining is on the exclusive list, they come all the way from Abuja and they don't even come and register. We don't even know who and who are actually are mining in our states. Just a few of them have the find it courteous enough to come and register. 90% of them just goes directly to the communities, and then with the exploration licenses, they even go ahead and get community development agreements that I can assure you I can say they are ripping off these communities, and then they go ahead and they're mining and cutting away with our precious minerals. So one of the committees that we have, subcommittees, which I'm the chairman of, is to look at all the mining licenses on the plateau. We have, like I said, we have the exploration, we have the mining licenses, we have the buying centers, we have the processing centers, tin sheds, and so on. So we're looking at all those licenses and seeing, so for instance, all these tin sheds are in residential areas or close to where people live, and they have health hazards and so on, and we're trying to make sure that tin sheds are situated in the rightful place. In the long run, we have short, medium, and long-term plans. One of the long-term plans we have is to create mining villages in the 3 senatorial zones where all these buying centers and tin sheds would move to, so it's in a safe location, and then they're mining using safe methods. So you're wearing the right gears and so on and so forth. Because right now, we have a lot of cases of funny diseases coming, cancers and so on, and we're not attributing it to a lot of these toxic minerals, and they are actually attributed to them. So we're trying to prevent that from happening.
All right. Speaking of energy transition, and just for those who might not know what it means, I want you to explain what it means and what the role of mining and the work the government is doing, especially your commission is doing to ensure that mining and energy transition, the marriage is fluid. Because for some people, what they know is, I just want to go and mine. I'm not killing anybody. I just want to go and do my little thing, get some money, and feed my family. How important is it that they understand what energy transition means, and how is the government alongside you?
Maybe Ziva can explain a bit.
Okay, so I'm asking about first, for those who don't know what energy transition means, what does energy transition mean for the average person who is listening? Probably, I'm sure there are some miners that listen right now. What does energy transition mean?
Energy?
Yes.
Energy transition.
Yes.
So when you say energy, you mean converting the minerals to energy, or what are you exactly saying?
Yes, I think I'll let you
explain that to explain to us so I can shed more light.
Okay, energy transition is moving from fossil fuels, the normal that we've been using, to a more cleaner energy, where we don't need to use fuel and other gases that have, would I say, effect or impact on our health and the environment. Yes. So it's the movement, that's the transition into a more cleaner energy. Yes.
All right. So,
okay. Also, I get it, but go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, what's the state doing to ensure that mining also ties in nicely with this energy transition? Because, like you mentioned, cleaner energy, and from the conversations around cleaner energy, some would say, hey, mining scene brings, like you also mentioned, has a lot of environmental hazards that he brings in society. So what's the balance between mining and this transition?
Okay, so what we are trying to move to is ethical mining, where all these sustainable and renewable factors are play out. So definitely it's something that we're doing. In fact, I'm talking to some investors now, and we're discussing ethical mining, where you use ethical methods to mine and are not hazardous. Like I said earlier on, we're talking about toxins from mining and so on. But as a whole, what the state is doing with regards to energy is we're looking at hydro, we're looking at solar, wind, so on in that space. Yes, but in terms of our mineral and our minerals, we're looking at value add. Because again, what people extract from here in the plateau is just raw materials, and again, as we know, it's never get we're again at the bottom of the value chain, and then you get the least amount of money. So for what we're trying to bring is investment and capital here to Plateau that we can value add to the minerals that we currently have. Lithium, which we have in here on the Plateau, for instance, we're trying to see if in the long term we can convert it into energy sources that are.
And speaking of value chain and the work of the government in all of this, you've talked about how the government is working and effortlessly to bring investors to the state. How, for want of a better word, how fast is this? Because for Plateau State, it's known as the team city. Everybody comes to Plateau State because they know that it has a lot of team. However, over time, that industry has gone down. Like you also mentioned, the illegal mining that has gone on has sort of not been
unregulated
rather, has not added a lot of financial value to the state. What moves, especially in the next 1 year, can we say, or can miners or people in the state say the government will do ABC, or the government is working to do ABC to ensure that these value chain, they don't just remain at the bottom, and people who might not be directly involved in mining also get to be involved, especially in terms of work and businesses when it comes to mining?
Okay, first and foremost, we're trying to encourage education. Education is very important to be able to, rise in any industry that you're in. Luckily, and we thank God that the mining university is coming here in Plateau. It might not be a very short-term plan, but it's coming up.
Mining university?
Yes, the mining university.
What does that? What does a mining university do? Because that's the first time. This is the first time we're hearing that.
Again, it's to train people in aspects to do with mining, geologists and other skills that are involved in mining. So the bill has been passed. I believe it's moved to the president for his consent. And we believe it will be situated over here, and that will do a lot of good for our people. So again, in the value chain, they will rise in the value chain. We want them to be business owners, and when the investors come in, we want them to participate at high levels of those companies that come in to mine here. So those are one of the things. And then, like I said, I didn't finish explaining with regards to the committee. The second committee that is looking at the cushioning effects of current state, because we know that people are complaining. And let me state also that this suspension, people talk about it as a ban, as if though it's in perpetuality. It is not. We're looking at lifting this ban as soon as possible, as soon as we achieve all the things that we feel would give brings more sanity to the sector. So for our small scale miners, we're currently taking, we're touring the whole state, looking at all the licenses that are available, and then we want to go back to renegotiate with a lot of these miners, so a lot of these license holders, so a portion of their licenses can be given to the communities to mine. Now, apart from giving, there were a group, of course, these youths, these people into cooperatives and so on. I think she's talked about modalities. You go to the Ministry of Commerce, you get a cooperative license, then you go to the zonal mines office and then register with them, and then you become artisanal small scale miner. So part of the leases will be given out to our to the youths in this community that have grouped themselves into cooperatives to mine. But beyond that, we're looking at safe measures. We want to give them PPEs and all the tools that they have, because the death rate in mining is too high. There's almost no day that someone not documented. They just go by like nothing has happened. But if you go and get the data, hundreds of people are dying yearly from unsafe mining practices. And this is what, because how is Plateau State going to look like 10, 20 years from now with this death rate? And even with regards to education, many people aren't going to school. And we know Plateau State to be one of those hubs for education. And you can imagine how it will look in 10, 20 years from now with an educated populace.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, I've got a few questions to ask you before we open the phone lines for our listeners to call in. You can also be part of the conversation by calling into the studio lines on 09055666699 or 08121877777. This is the voices from the mines, and we're speaking today with the Honorable Commissioner and the guys from the Ziva Community Initiative. We'll be right back. Go nowhere.
Friday on JFM, energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria takes center stage, explaining the role of ASM in energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria, with the objective to advocate and campaign for a full implementation of the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan and other global policies and treaties. Join Emeka Wesley and our seasoned resource persons on the role of artisanal and small-scale miners in energy transition transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria. Fridays, 9 to 10 a.m. only on JE 101.9 FM. Powered by Ziva Community Initiative Advocates for a Sustainable Community with support from Africa Center for Energy Policy.
Well done, sir. See, how you doing? Please, ma'am, you have to speak directly to the mic.
No, she was not speaking. She was not speaking.
Okay, am I audible enough? Yes,
yes,
you are.
well.
You are very, very audible.
Yeah, welcome back to Voices from the Mines. The phone lines are buzzing already, like we mentioned before we went on that commercial break. I've got the Honorable Commissioner here with me and guys from Ziva Community Initiative. And today we're talking about, mining, small scale and artisanal mining, the things that can be done, the issues that are being raised, especially when it comes to a lot of the unregulated things being happening in that sector. Before I pick your calls, because I know a lot of people want to ask questions and also make contributions, my final question to you, Honorable Commissioner. You've made mention of the community and how more often than not, these people that have got exploration licenses do not do enough for the community. I also remember that you mentioned that one of the plans that the government has is to ensure that the community has some portion of the mining place. Other than that, what are some of the other things? Because we know, for example, that when things like this happen in other industries, let's say in the oil industry, there's certain amount, there's certain, like you say, corporate social responsibilities this organization should do. Is there work to ensure that these CSRs are not just written on paper, but they are also implemented as and when and to the letters?
Yes. So again, part of the documentation that we're currently undergoing is reviewing all the community development agreements that we have in the state. I have so many complaints about this agreement, and like I said, a lot of these companies are so changing our people. But I'm glad to tell you that in some cases we've been able to correct them, like in Wasi, for instance. We have a company there that just built a school. We have a road that is being built. A hospital, not a school, a hospital. And then we have a road that's being built. So these are the kind of projects that we want to see mining corporations getting themselves involved in communities. And we don't want a situation whereby community development agreements are targeted at one family or just a group of people, which is what we've seen happen. I can tell you there's a community that the CDA was signed, and it's to give one chief a guy every month or something.
Wow.
Yes. So because again, people don't know the value of what you're cutting out from their communities. So they feel that if you give them 50,000 naira a month, meanwhile you're cutting out hundreds of millions from their community. So yes, we're reviewing our community development agreement. We're working with the federal government and the Ministry of Justice, State Ministry of Justice, to look at all the community development agreements and make sure that they are in line with what we actually intended to achieve with this community development agreements.
All right, the phone lines are open, guys. 090-5566-6699 or 081-218-77777. We are still talking about the state of mining in Plateau State, the challenges, opportunities, and the path forward. We're speaking to the Honorable Commissioner of Environment, Climate Change, and Mineral Development, Honorable Peter Kanangong, on these issues. Let's speak our calls for the morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Jonathan, David.
Yeah, I'm calling
from State Quarters. Please go, Jonathan, David.
I want to comment and ask a question. The state government, have they reviewed and checked and make inquiry on the benefit of mining, especially the local miners?
All right, if you have more questions, then try to call us back on 9055666699 or 081-218-77777. Well, Mr. Jonathan David asked a question. I'm sure the commissioner, has the answer already. So he asked if the state government, gone around to understand the benefits of local mining. The question is a bit weird, but I'm going to let you answer it. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Oh, is there? Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. I think the networks are not acting up right, but you can still you can still call us back rather on 09055666699. This is the Voices from the Mines brought to you by Ziva Community Initiative, and today we're talking about the role of mining, the challenges and opportunities of mining in Plateau State. Hello, good morning.
Hello, this is Jonathan calling back.
All right, Jonathan, please hear your question you're saying before you answer.
Because if you check through some of these workers pay their bills through this mining, and some of them mine from the period of this January to April in order to source money for fertilizer and also to sponsor their children to go to school. And from the banning of the mining in Plateau State, you could see how that affects the miners, most especially the local miners, from achieving these things. So as the state government made provision in order to help these local miners to fill in the gap of this ban and the delay it has caused them.
All right, thank you. Commissioner was going to answer that question. Let's pick another call. Hello, good morning. Apologies there for not picking your call early enough. The phone lines are still open, 090-5566-6699 or 081-218-77777. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name and your location. All right, please, Mr. Mike, go on with your question and contribution.
Yeah, I think I just want to comment about this issue of small scale mining. I think the ban is a very, or rather the proposed ban is a very good development. So I don't think that so many youths are thrown out of school because of this illegal mining. They have rejected going to school. They don't even like anything like school, schooling because of this mining. It has divided all the attentions. And let me draw the attention of the Senator representing Plateau North, which is adds that to the specific area of local government. You go to this Daniel junction. It's not only about mining, but you see a very good number of youth selling fruits and the rest of the chickens and the rest. And they refuse to go to school. I think you work on these children. Please, you work on this. When I'm passing there, whenever I get worried. You know, I'm not happy with that.
All right, sir. All right, thank you so much for calling. Let's pick this call before the commissioner answers those questions. Hello, good morning.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, sir. Your name and your location.
Yeah, it's Abraham Douglas. I'm calling from Tudunwada.
All right, Abraham Douglas, please go on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure speaking with the commissioner at the radio station. And what I want to say in this regard is that banning the mining in the state, I don't think it's a right step to be taken by the government. Because if mining is profitable, I think the government should invest in it so they can improve the state and also generate revenue. Because the people who are mining it are making profit out of it. So if the government would invest in this mining, it would create job opportunities for the youth. So rather than abandon the mining, the government is not mining it, and they stop the citizens from benefiting from it. So I don't think it is. I don't think it's the right idea. So what I think is that the government, after banning it, should get experts so that they will start mining it, create job, and also, increase revenue for the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. Let me let the commissioner answer those questions and observations.
Okay, I think it's very important to share what the last caller said, that we need to clarify this narrative. The state government has not banned mining. The state government has suspended mining for a time being. And as soon as possible, as soon as what we're trying to achieve is achieved, mining will be lifted. The suspension will be lifted. We, as a government, want Plateau State to reposition as we see with the oil-producing states, because we believe that with what we're endowed with, we can be as rich as the oil-producing states are. What we're seeing now is is money that is meant to go to the state and the federal government in people's hands, and our own people over here are dying. So someone spoke about how people are using these monies to pay school fees. We agree, and it's unfortunate. And we know that the window for mining is the dry season, which I believe starts around October till about April. But it's unfortunate that when we saw the way they came out in thousands, starting from around November to when we suspended mining, and this mining is affecting critical infrastructure. It is we see arms in these places, drug abuse, and so on and so forth. We're not saying that all of it is bad. Yes, there's some good parts of mining. Some people were actually genuinely mining for to sort out their life issues, but a lot of it was attracting a lot of terrible vices that we couldn't just sit back and watch happen. Again, even the high debt rate, are we going to see our people keep on dying in the wells every day and say, oh no, people want to pay school fees? No, we're not going to see that. We're a responsible government, and we're not going to allow that to happen. So please, the gentleman that talked about banning, we know we want to reopen mining, and we want the states to gain, the people to gain, and the federal government to gain. We're working with the federal government very closely. We're not in any way at loggerheads with the federal government. They are part of the technical committee that has been set up. All the military forces are with us, and we're all working together to see how we can bring more sanity to the sector. I don't know if I've answered.
I think you've answered the majority of the question. If there's any, I'm going to bring it to your notice. And let's speak this on the call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name and your location.
I'm John from Bukuru.
John from Bukuru, please go on with your question and contribution, sir.
Concerning the issue of mining in this country, there have been lots of mistakes that have been done by the federal government. One, first of all, there are laws that were concerned to mine this country before. But as a sanitary now, this is a thrown aboard. Look at 5 mining companies in this country. ATMN, Gold and Base, what of them? 5 of them were bought over by the federal government. Where are they today? Because of bad administration. The results are consuming companies before. But look at it now, the whole what of companies who we come to bring to Plateau State now that was interested to work in my country. Look, it will not that. Look at what is machine today? Imagine a report by federal government, what are they today? Where are they? Look at go to Bugan, where are they today? I'm not being responsible for not in country. Look, the federal government has done many that are very bad in this country. They are having their work for politics. But where are you today? Look at it, many companies will have this country. And where is today? A government bought that company, that place of that company. But they have employed workers. Where are we today?
All right, sir. Thank you. Thanks so much for calling and airing your grievance. So he made mention of the federal government's for those who didn't get him, he said the federal government took over some mining companies, and many of these companies, according to him, have become more abandoned. So he says the federal government very much, complicit in the issues that they've been telling.
Can I go ahead? Okay. So again, I think people need to know that the federal government is actually reopening and floating again Nigerian Mining Corporation. There's a rebirth of it. Yeah. It's been settled in this year's budget, so we're going to see Mining Corporation come up again. So I think just to answer his question, that yes, maybe subsequent governments did not do too well in mining, but this federal government is trying its best. Even the budget for the ministry has gone up hundreds and hundreds of percent to be able to bring in more regulation into the industry. Because what was happening again was that we had a mining act, but it wasn't properly implemented because of lack of funding. So the structures need to be put in place by the federal government to bring more regulation and bring more sanity into the sector. It's currently happening the same way we have in the oil sector is what is happening in the mining sector as well, and we're very happy about that. So just to let the caller know that Nigerian mining corporation is going to be back very soon.
All right, my final question, because you're almost out of time here. This is about 8:48 already. We have 5 minutes left on the show. You made mention earlier of certain individuals and companies who get exploration licenses and they go explore without getting mining licenses. With the work the federal government is doing, what would happen to these people? Peradventure, again, I know these things like this will happen. These people do not get the licenses for mining but still go on to mine. What are some of the measures that the government, laws and policies the government are putting in place to ensure that such people do not go unpunished?
It's illegal to mine without an exploration license. Let me make that clear. You cannot explore, you cannot mine with an exploration license. You can only mine with a mining license. So anyone that is mining with an exploration license is mining illegally. When we talk about illegal mining, we're not only speaking about our boys going to mining well and considering them. A lot of corporations are mining illegally, and we're looking at all that, and then there are going to be consequences for mining illegally. The Mining Act leaves room for penalties for people that are mining and companies that are mining with an exploration license. We're going to be writing, jotting down all these companies and writing to the federal government for them to revoke these licenses. And we're documenting all the activities that have been done with exploration licenses here in the Plateau, because as far as we're concerned, we're being ripped off.
We've been ripped off. This program is Voices from the Mines and brought to you by Ziva Community Initiative with support from Africa Center for Energy Policy. Let's go on our final break. When we come back, we'll be picking your calls and then calling to wrap today on the show. Go nowhere, you're still on to Voices from the Mines.
Every Friday on JFM, energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria takes center stage, explaining the role of ASM in energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria, with the objective to advocate and campaign for a full implementation of the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan and other global policies and treaties. Join Emeka Umesi and our seasoned resource persons on the role of artisanal and small-scale miners in energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria. Fridays 9 to 10 a.m. only on JE 101.9 FM. Powered by Ziva Community Initiative Advocates for a Sustainable Community with support from Africa Center for Energy Policy.
You're welcome to Voices from the Mines, brought to you by Ziva Community Initiative with support from the Africa Center for Energy Policy. We're talking about the state of mining in Plateau State, challenges, opportunities, and the path forward. I'll be speaking to the Honorable Commissioner of Environment, Climate Change, and Mineral Development, Honorable Peter Kanangwam. We've got about 4 minutes to the end of the show. So I want you all to call in for those of you who have questions. I'm sure many people have questions they want to ask. 090-5566-6699 or 081-218-77777. Honorable Commissioner, to miners out there, many of whom, like you mentioned, have not gone to their mining sites because of the suspension that the government is working to ensure, is lifted as soon as possible. What words do you have for them? And for people in communities too who might not know the effects of this mining on them? What are the effects of this mining on them? And what's, words of encouragement you give them? Before you answer the question, let's make this call. Hello, good morning. Apologies there. The phone lines are still open. We have space for one more call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Your name and your location?
I am speaking from Bariki. My name is Honorable Chief, the ultimate of Bariki.
All right, please go on, sir.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
God bless you. I
Thank the Commissioner for coming on air to telling the people the exact thing that is happening. All that has been going is that the Plateau State government has banned mining on the plateau, which is not true. I think what he has clearly said is it has been suspended. And he has clearly given reason for why it has been suspended. I think all that they want to do is to modify it and see the best way in the interest of the people, in the interest of the community, in the interest of the state and nation in general. So I just think that God will give them the guidance that standing, so that at the end of it, people don't end up being affected. Honestly, when we were young people, the white people came, the Europeans came and mined on the party. They excavated a lot of mineral resources. Today we are hearing of the claiming of those lands, even with the arrangement that was made then. Most of the dams are still feeding our people. The number of people that are dying daily from illegal mining is outrageous. And I think no reasonable and responsible government should sit and hold his hands while their people and potential of our future keep dying. I would suggest that the state government will arrange for what we call cooperative mining societies, so that every person from the explorer to the professor, they must belong to a cooperative organization. Make them to cooperative organization and see how they will be able to make the mining very effective and safe for our people, so that our people don't end up dying from looking for money. And this thing is really affecting us because lots of children are leaving school now. And you cannot see the future now, it is in the future. The future is at jeopardy. So I pray that the government will intervene and then see how they can organize so that people can go about doing their business and mining legally under those cooperative organizations. Since the mining industry is a very capital-intensive organization.
All right, sir.
So all over, they are exploiting our people. You should be everywhere. Not the stupidity. When you do the legislation and regularization, all these activities will be checked. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much for calling, sir. Honorable Commissioner, I want you to respond to that. And final words to miners and communities.
Okay, let me start by saying that we want to encourage our mining communities and people in mining to be patient with the government. The government means well, and I can assure, of course, when you make such steps as government, initially it would seem very tough, but I want to assure people that they will be better off for it at the end of the day. Secondly, let me speak a little bit about the kind of advocacy and the kind of structures we're putting in place in local governments. We're going to be meeting with critical stakeholders in all the three senatorial zones. I believe next week we're waiting for some particular individuals to be on the Plateau before we go for that engagement, but we've engaged with all the local government chairmen, we've engaged with the Mining Association, we're engaging with the House of Assembly, and we're engaging with our federal legislators. And we're going to be meeting with all the critical stakeholders in all the three senatorial zones, and we're going to be going down to all the local government to let people know of the things that government are doing and what we're trying to achieve in the process of this suspension and what we want to happen once we come out of it. Secondly, we have asked all the local government chairmen to create committees in their local government for mining, and that's going to include the youth leaders, women leaders, and so on and so forth. And it's going to be a standing committee, and they are going to always be reporting to the state government, of activities of miners in their locations, and if there are any palliative or any incentives or any interventions that they need from the state government, they'll be approaching us and we'll be addressing all issues.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner, for being here, and thank you, Ziva Community Initiative, for bringing this to the people. Well, this has been the size of the package this morning. I just really have final words for them.
Yeah, it's nice listening to all the questions and the response from the Honorable Commissioner too. We appreciate it. And then, to our listeners out there, Ziva is here. We have this program going on to be going on for a while. So please always listen to us and ask questions. We are ready to listen. And we're here to work with the artisanal miners. So thank you.
Let me also thank Ziva for all the work that they're doing. Since I got into office in 2023, they have been working side by side with the ministry to see that they bring more sanity to the mining sector. So I want to sincerely thank the leadership of Ziva for what they're doing in Plateau. Thank you.
Thank you both for being here. We'll be here again same time next week Friday to give you interesting conversations and answer all your questions. This has been Voices from the Mines, brought to you by Ziva Community Initiative. Like I always say, stay out of trouble, spread love and seek the truth. Adios.